back. I'm Mike Gonzales from KVEW. I'm the evening anchor and news director out at the ABC affiliate, and we serve the Tri-Cities, Washington area, as well as Walla area and Yakima area. So proud to be a part of this with the League of Women Voters, Latino Coalition, that I'm also a member of. But you know, we have no partisanship in this, but we just want to get the information out there. So really excited to be a part of this forum. Such an important position right here, the Walla County Commissioners. You know how influential they are in county decisions. This particular venue is for Commissioner 1. We have Jared Frerichs and Jim Johnson, and we have not decided who will go first. So if you cordially want to decide who goes first, Mr. Johnson. Okay, sounds good. Mr. Johnson, make your opening statement.
We could arm wrestle.
Yeah,
no,
I brought the boxing gloves.
I'd lose that one, I'm sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and also the Latino Coalition for the opportunity to be here tonight. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. They say information is power, and I think the information that you'll gain tonight from listening to the candidates will empower you as voters to help make a better decision. So I just appreciate the opportunity for things like this. My name is Jim Johnson. I've lived in Walla County for 42 years. I was born and raised in Seattle, graduated from college, was offered a job in Walla. Thought I would come over here and get a couple years experience and go back home. And after I moved here, I started raising a family and decided why in the world would I want to go back to the wet side? And I've been here for 42 years. I've raised 4 children, 7 grandchildren. I'm married to my wife, Linda, who's sitting right here in the second row. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me. I graduated from Seattle University with a degree in business, came over here to work for a small accounting firm in 1975. 8 years later, I bought that firm, and I remained self-employed until 2012. And in 2012, we had a county commissioner who decided that he needed to retire short of the end of the last year of his second term. I was encouraged to put my name into the pot to be chosen to finish his term. I did so, and decided I enjoyed the job so much that I decided I would run for a full term, and I did put my name on the ballot. Fortunate enough to get elected in November of that year, and on December 1st of that year, I sold my accounting practice. So I'm all in. I committed all in to being a county commissioner. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to serve the citizens of Walla County for the last almost 4.5 years, and I would very much like to do so for another 4 years, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frerichs.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Latino Coalition for putting this together. I was very excited about the opportunity to get to speak in front of, my constituents tonight. Walla County, I am the result of your hard work. This community has been built upon some really upstanding principles that have made me the man I am today. At the age of 12, I had a paper route delivering the Walla Union Bulletin, and the $120 a month I collected paid the rent on my family's 15-foot by 50-foot trailer. We grew up behind the Jackpot in Waitsburg. In high school, I was offered the opportunity to work for local farmers pulling rye, made 10 bucks an hour in the summer. I sold my first hog to Valley Vision Clinic downtown, and that enabled me to buy my first pickup truck in high school at the age of 16. It was a 1994 Ford Ranger. That's why I'm running. When I moved back to this area about 6 years ago, after my 10 years in the military and getting my bachelor's degree in political science, I saw that things really hadn't changed in Walla County since I left. But I saw this encroaching, this creeping specter of things on the horizon that I didn't find so good. When I speak and sit down with my coworkers, I hear about how a small $500 bill completely derails them for several months, something like a flat tire or a kid that needs to go see a medical specialist. And I thought, what can we do better? What is wrong? Or what are we missing? What's the key component? In this entire campaign, I have the utmost respect for Jim Johnson. He has been a fantastic county commissioner. I am not adversarial to him in any way. This campaign has been about ideas, it's been about collaboration, and bringing forward maybe some things that we haven't thought about, and trying some new things that are available to us, tools we haven't quite tapped into. So I thank you for this opportunity very much.
Thank you both for those opening statements. Mr. Frerichs, we'll start with you. During my time in the news and media business, transparency of county government is always an issue. You know, there's sometimes certainly seem to be mysterious. People don't know about the county commission. They're not as out in front as, let's say, the city council. How would you bring more transparency to county government?
Transparency is a big issue. Actually, it's one of the driving factors behind Washington State initiative. It's called Results Washington. And it's interesting, when you go into the county commissioner's webpage, the last report to citizens was in June of 2013 as far as the business operations of the county go. When I go and I doorbell, currently we're hitting about 350 houses a week that we're knocking on with me and my volunteers. 9 out of 10 people say, what's a county commissioner? What does a county commissioner do? In fact, it's a very important and essential role. And I was like, well, we determine how many taxes on your house and what you pay. To increase transparency within the county government, I would facilitate having board commissioner meetings in other locations like Burbank, Waitsburg, Prescott, at different times. This doesn't have to be a weekly thing, but we could hold board commissioner meetings in the evenings when our workforce, who gets off, most people are 9 to 5, why can't we have a board commissioner meeting at 6:30 at night? And I would be more than willing to pay the mileage and transportation overtime for whatever county clerk or recorder that needed to work and cover that time. And that's what I would do. I would open up county government. I would revamp our social media presence. Why don't we have a Twitter page? Why don't we have an Instagram page? Our county website is horrible. It's just links everywhere. There's a whole lot of work we can do as far as streamlining goes and creating that transparency that the people of the county really deserve.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that the information that you need, the information that you're looking for, is there on the county website. I do agree with Mr. Frerichs that transparency is extremely important. One of the sayings that you hear many times is everything old is new again. I can tell you county commissioners in the past have tried holding meetings at night. They've tried holding meetings in other communities like Burbank. And we don't get any more participation than we do with the meetings that we hold on Monday mornings at 9:30 in the morning. It's been tried, not that it shouldn't be perhaps tried again, but we've reached out and tried to do that, and when you don't get the participation, it's a little disconcerting, and so we've gone back to our regular meeting. The other thing I think you need to consider is that what we deal with on a regular basis as county commissioners is department heads, people who run our departments. We deal with elected officials, of course, but in many cases, we're dealing with department heads who work for the county, who work during the day. And it's important that they have the opportunity to come before us, tell us what's going on in their department. We have public hearings, we have resolutions that we have to pass. Business is done during the day, and we run a business in Walla Walla County. Your insurance man isn't available at 9 o'clock at night in his office. Unless you go to the emergency room, you can't go to a doctor's appointment generally at 6:30 in the evening. So we run a business, and we have tried to do those meetings at other times, and it just hasn't worked out. I agree. Transparency is extremely important, and whenever and wherever we can, we're going to try to do that.
Thank you. This is a question from our audience. Mr. Frerichs, we'll start with you. The gang issues and the gang problems in Walla Walla County have been growing just the past couple months. Off the top of my head, I can remember a fatality of a young man that was walking home from a party recently. A young man was shot near a grain elevator. That fugitive was caught. It's something that the people around here don't like and don't want, but resources are being taxed. Do you have a solution from a county standpoint how you can help out your sheriff?
Actually, I do. I'm currently employed by the Washington State Penitentiary. I'm a corrections specialist, and I actually administer programming to get gang members to stop thinking like criminals and become good neighbors in society. So there's a lot of ideas that I have related to gang violence and how you prevent gang violence. The county commissioners don't recognize that there's an actual significant increase in gang crime because they haven't seen the statistics yet to support that. But it's an issue that we need to collaborate at the city level, the state level, in order to combat these issues. One of the big things when you look at is within our county, only 60% of Latino males actually graduate from our high schools. That's the most at-risk demographic. They are disenfranchised because if I go to Walla Walla High School and I graduate to Walla Walla High School, what are my options then? Where do I work? What do I do? I get a job at the prison, or do I work in the wine industry? And that's not something that's available to everyone or something that everyone's interested in. One of my big issues, or one of the things I would like to push forward, is the facilitation of school resource officers. I would like deputies in our schools who are able to reach out and act as an intermediary to these Latino males before they join up in these gangs. Approximately the age of 12 to 13, middle school age, is when the influences start to happen. I would like for them to be role models and to offer guidance and programming to show them that, hey, there's another path. And then there's a whole other aspect as far as economics comes into, and economic opportunities for these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
So this is obviously not a problem that's unique to Walla Walla County. Gang problems are something we're seeing in every community in our state and in our nation. It's going to take a collaborative effort with our state legislators, with our congresspeople in Washington, D.C. These are issues that we have to face in a holistic way. We're not going to come up with any particularly special solutions in Walla Walla County that are going to reduce the gang problem any greater than any other community that's concerned about it, and we are concerned about it. I applaud Sheriff Turner. He's done a great job. I expect when our elected officials are elected that they will look at their departments and they will look at their community and say, this is what I need to be the best we can be. This is what we need to be the safest community we can be. And Sheriff Turner has done that. It's up to us as commissioners to figure out how we judiciously spend taxpayer dollars in order to accomplish the goals that the sheriff and the community set in terms of trying to reduce that gang population and that gang mentality. We've got some tremendous social service agencies and private social service groups in this community that we've partnered with as county commissioners through our community health department. I think that's an area that we need to continue to work with, and wherever possible, I can assure you that the county commissioners will work with Sheriff Turner to try to improve his ability to help us handle the problem. It's just something that we're all really going to have to be conscious of, and again, it's going to have to be a collaboration with state and federal agencies as well.
Thank you. Homelessness, behavioral health, poverty, disability, and substance abuse issues are putting growing costs and staffing pressures on county social services, city services as well. What ideas do you gentlemen have to manage and contain this issue? Mr. Johnson, we'll start with you.
So one of the problems we have in this area is that we have not increased the number of beds in our mental health institutions in this state, that being Eastern State Hospital and Western State Hospital, in over 30 years. 30 years ago, approximately, in an effort to not to warehouse individuals with mental health issues and to take the stigma away from mental health problems, we decided that we were not going to incarcerate, for a better word, looking for a better word than that, mental health patients in our state hospitals. So what has that brought us today? That has turned our jails into quasi-mental health facilities. That's a tremendous burden on counties throughout the state. We have tried to collaborate with our legislators to work on that. We always say that we get unfunded mandates from the state, and we get the privilege of raising local option sales taxes to deal with those. But the state has to recognize their role in that as well. One of the things we've done in the last several months, we now have a mental health intake specialist at our county jail. When someone comes into the jail, they're evaluated to determine A, if they can be there or should be somewhere else, and B, if maybe they have medications that we need to have brought into the jail so we can continue to treat those people. This is a serious issue, and again, it's one that's going to take collaboration from a lot of different areas to continue to fight, and we're doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Frerichs.
This is one of those, the creeping specters on the horizon I noticed when I moved back into town. Currently, we operate a needle exchange that exchanges 114,000 needles a year to intravenous drug users within the county. We don't have a detox center. We have nowhere for these people to get it cleaned. We're giving them the needles, but we're not like, hey, here's some services for you to get it cleaned. As far as homelessness goes, the county recognizes that we're actually declining in homelessness. One of the reasons we're seeing this spike, though, in heroin use within the county is because there's been a crackdown on prescription drug use. And so, basic economics, if you limit the supply, they're going to replace it with something else, and that's what's happening right now is with heroin. Columbia Regional Mental Health is actually building 32 beds within this area. Walla General Hospital is bringing about 12 beds for mental health back to our area. So the resources are expanding. Everything I'm seeing about comprehensive mental health, they're doing a good job working for the county. In order to support and pay for these services, though, we really, really need to broaden our tax base. The county is running into a revenue issue, and we're going to have to look and get a little bit more aggressive in how we bring jobs and economic growth to our area in order to address these growing and continuing issues within our community.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, this question's for you. Water is one of this area's most valuable resources in Walla Walla County, certainly. Please explain your knowledge and background in this precious resource and your plan to protect farmers' water rights.
Well, my background would be living here in this agricultural community for 42 years. I can tell you water, it's one of those things, water being one of our precious natural resources is one of those things that really, really requires a balancing act. My wife is a wheat farmer. She knows the value of water. I know the value of water. Water, when I say balance, we have to balance the property rights and the water rights of individual farmers. We need water for growing our crops. We need water to feed our livestock. We need water to survive. But we also have to realize that water is not, as we would like it to be, perhaps an unlimited resource. And we have to cherish that water. I don't think water rights and being caretakers of water are diametrically opposed. I think we can work together. I think we can work on clean water issues. I'm a strong proponent of making sure that we're not destroying our waters with factories that are putting things into the water that they shouldn't be. But I think we need a balanced approach. And we have to make sure that our farmers are getting the appropriate water that they need in order to grow the crops. This is an agricultural area. It's a huge part of our economy. Just in response to one thing Mr. Frerichs said, you know, we only have a 4.7% unemployment rate in this county. We're in the top 10 in the state in terms of unemployment. Our economy is not quite as bad as some would like to paint it out to be.
Thank you, Mr. Frerichs.
One of the things I would do to address, we're actually doing really well with water. It's one of the reasons Nestle wanted to move into Waitsburg. We're doing really well as far as our water goes. Our growth rate over the past decade has been maybe 1%, so our population is not exploding, and we've done a really good job managing our water. One of the things I would address, though, is the watershed and potential fires and how that impacts the watershed. We got really lucky about a year ago when that fire was approaching the watershed. We need to do some efforts. We need to get with the Department of Natural Resources. We need to get with the Corps of Engineers and see about potentially thinning out the watershed as far as berms go and protecting that, and the riparian zones, the water areas within that area, and how cattle encroach on those and whether or not it's affecting our water. Of course, we need water within this. This is an agriculture community. Before it was wine, it was wheat and peas and onions. It's a big issue, and we can never ever be too vigilant as far as our water goes within this community.
Thank you. This question coming from the audience, and Mr. Johnson, we'll start with you. What is the most important long-term problem facing Walla Walla County, and what will you do to address it?
You know, it's hard to prioritize some of those things. I really would have to say honestly that it's something I touched on earlier, that our jails have become quasi-mental health facilities, and this is just not a problem in Walla Walla County. It's a problem across the state and across the nation. I've been fortunate to be able to meet with other county commissioners at the state level and also county commissioners from across the country, and the problem is the same. Our budget, I would say 75% of our budget has to deal with people who have broken the law, have mental health issues, or chemical dependency issues. And often the breaking of the law is tied in with the mental health and chemical dependency issues. And those are things that we have to very, very seriously take a look at. As I said, we've worked with Comprehensive. We now have an intake specialist in our jail. We're working on educational programs to help people who are incarcerated, both in our juvenile system and in our adult correction system. But this is a serious, serious issue, and it's not one that we can completely handle at the county level. We have to get our state legislators and our national legislators to partner with us on this. This is a huge problem here and across the country, and I guess if I had to prioritize our problems, and I look at problems as opportunities to make things better and to fix things, but if I had to prioritize, I would say that would be our #1 priority. And I think solving that will contribute greatly to solving the homeless issue as well.
Thank you, Mr. Frerichs.
For me, it's economic development and jobs. We need to broaden our tax base. Mr. Johnson's correct. We have a very low unemployment rate within the county. But interestingly enough, we have the worst affordable housing within Walla County. Cost of living here is 3% higher than the national average, and wages are about 20% lower than the national average within Walla County. We've got to do something about this wage gap that we have going on within the county. In order to do this, there's a really bold thing that I want to do as a county commissioner. Underneath us is a giant natural gas pipeline that runs from British Columbia down to California. And they manufacture it in California, the liquid natural gas, and they export it to China. China is actually, you want to talk about like global players, by 2020, China is going to have 10% of their electrical output in natural gas. We can build a liquid natural gas refinery within Burbank. It's a greener fuel, it's a step-down fuel. It'll be a $5 billion plant built in the manufacturing park, the infrastructure park, in Burbank. We will tap into the existing line. If fracking is not occurring here, we'll take something that's kind of bad up in Canada, turn it into something really good, and will be supported by the years of growth and the demand in China. In fact, this demand is so high, they're widening the Panama Canal so they can bring more tankers over from Texas to China to facilitate this. This is something that's going to provide an enormous tax base for the county as far as jobs go, as far as wages go, and an increase in our property taxes.
Speaking of economic development in Walla County, it's largely focused on the county's agricultural base. What would you gentlemen do to take economic development into non-traditional areas such as manufacturing, energy, and technology? Mr. Johnson.
Well, we have a very unique situation, I think, in Walla County. We have an area on the west end of the county, along the Columbia River, from Wallula to Burbank, that is a natural setting for light industrial or manufacturing type businesses. Frankly, the #1 driver of economic development in Walla County is the port, and the port has done a tremendous job in doing so. We as the county, it's incumbent upon us to try to reduce the barriers to those businesses. When they come to this area to look at that air corridor over there, or even here right near the city of Walla Walla, we have to make sure that as a county, our zoning laws and things are not obstructionist to those kinds of business. First thing you want to look at is make sure that this is the kind of business we want in our county, that this is going to be something that's going to be a clean business, that's going to provide jobs, and it's the kind of business that we want here. But then we have to make sure we're not obstructing those businesses. The other thing that's going to be critical to that is completing Phase 7 and Phase 8 of Highway 12. We've got a commitment from the state now to complete Phase 7, and that includes monies for acquisition of right-of-way and property for Phase 8, as well as design for Phase 8. So what we're short now is about $220 million to complete the construction of Phase 8. But once we get Highway 12 complete, 4 lanes all the way from here to Seattle, we will have a much better opportunity to sell this community to folks who want to locate their businesses here.
Thank you, Mr. Frerichs.
I agree with Commissioner Johnson about the Highway 12, and it's actually going to cut 15 minutes off your trip to Tri-Cities, so we can get over there to the mall and shop a little bit easier. Currently in the county, 20% of our employment is through the government, and the government actually provides 25% of the wages. All the wages that are made within the county is provided by the government. The next best sector is manufacturing at 12% employment and 17.1% of wages. And like I said, this is one of the reasons why I want to focus on and be aggressive and use kind of an innovative idea with this liquid natural gas. We'll load it on the barges, ship them down to Columbia, and sell them to China. Also, I'm not opposed to hikes in the minimum wage for Washington State, like Initiative 1433. At the Department of Corrections, we had a 9.8% raise in our bargaining contract last year. It brought an additional $91 million to Walla County just that 9.8% raise to prison employees. These wages, Washington State has actually led the entire country as far as minimum wage has gone. We've always had the highest minimum wage. It's actually something we can be proud of. And this $13.50 an hour that they're going to come to is actually the result of years of study. They've gone to even the poorest counties in the state and said, what is the actual minimum wage that this county could support? What is the actual minimum wage that these small businesses could support? And 1433 is unanimous support. Thank you.
All right, thanks to both gentlemen. We're going to have closing statements now. Mr. Johnson had the first word. You'll have the final word, Mr. Frerichs. Mr. Johnson, you're up first.
Well, again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Latino Coalition. Again, thank you all for coming. You know, one of the things I've really strived to do as a county commissioner is make my decisions in as nonpartisan a way as I possibly can. I know I'm running as a Republican. Mr. Frerichs is running as a Democrat. That's the way the system is set up. But I would urge you to talk to members of this community. I would urge you to talk to people that are involved with our social service agencies in the community and ask them about the job that I've done. Ask your neighbors about the job that I've done, people that are involved with chemical dependency, people that are involved with mental health issues. Ask them if they think I've done my job in a nonpartisan way, because I believe I have. You know, I heard a quote the other day, and I would really love to take credit for this, but I can't. The quote was, "The greatest tragedy for any human being is going through their entire lives believing the only perspective that matters is their own." And I have tried to do my job in that way. I've listened, I've talked to people, I take into account what they tell me, and I've tried to make my decisions as a county commissioner with that in mind. I would appreciate your support, and again, thank you for being here tonight.
Mr. Johnson, thank you. Mr. Frerichs.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you on this stage with the League of Women Voters and the Latino Coalition. It's been a real privilege and an honor. For me, there's so much more that we can do. There's so much further that we can go. There's numerous opportunities that we have yet to grasp as a community that we can secure for generations and generations to come. And that's what I want to look to. That's what I want to grasp, and that's what I want to get a hold of. When I started this campaign, what I did is, I'm a collaborator. I like to talk to people. And so I made phone calls, and I sent emails, and I had meetings with all of our different county department heads, all of our different county officials, our elected officials within the county. And you know what I found out? We're really taken care of. The people working for you are some of the brightest, intelligent, most hardworking individuals. And we as a community are very fortunate to have that. And that's how I have developed all of these things you hear me talking about tonight, or within my campaign, or on my website or my Facebook page, is through the collaborative efforts that I went to and sought and listened to, and now I communicate to you. Thank you.
All right, Jared Frerichs, Commissioner Johnson, thank you both. Well, I'm Mike Gonzales from KVEW in the Kennewick market. We're the ABC affiliate. I'm also the news director, so excited to be here and part of this forum representing the Latino Coalition and the League of Women Voters. So you guys have been gracious hosts, so we appreciate you coming, and we appreciate Charter, who is a part of this as well. So thank you guys for such a nice venue and nice sound. This is the Walla Walla Commissioner race for District Number 2. Todd Kimball, Randal Son. So we appreciate them both being here. Mr. Son, you will make the opening statement.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the sponsors of this event. It really is democracy in action. Thanks to the participants tonight, particularly those of you who have to get up early for work. I'm Randal Son, and I ask for your vote and active support for County Commissioner District 2. For many of us growing up in other parts of the country, moving to this beautiful and abundant region was life-changing. I chose to set my roots here 45 years ago. I have broad experience. I've helped shape farm business plans and loaned money to work those plans. I've hired and trained people and responsibly managed a big budget when the problems were even bigger. I've closed sales to earn commissions. I've punched a clock to earn hourly wages. I've negotiated for safe working conditions and fair compensation. I've been a nonprofit executive director and board member crafting long-range plans. People who know me say I'm a quick learner, a good listener, considerate, and ethical. Because I value function over flash, my old Jeep has bad paint, but it has good tires and clean oil. Because I value efficiency and innovation, I also have an electric car. I look for ways to get things done. I'm not tied to ideological answers, but to finding the right answers. I don't hold grudges. I pledge to listen to all sectors of the community. My vision for county government is as a ready partner in preserving our quality of life long term. Decisions and operations should be guided by principles of transparency, efficiency, and long-term thinking. We can take practical steps starting next year to bring these principles to the fore. We must rise effectively to 21st century challenges and pull together for everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Son, thank you. Mr. Kimball, your opening statement.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Latino Coalition also. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with my constituents. I am Todd Kimball, running for County Commissioner District 2. I am a born and raised Walla Walla product. Our family has been living and farming in this community for 6 generations. I have been with my wife Sandy for 29 years, and I have 2 sons, Scott and Shay, ages 18 and 16. My first words when I made it public that I was going to run for county commissioner were that I thought the county had been run well for the past 10 years, and I wanted to see it continue that way. That said, there are needs that I feel should be addressed. I have an extensive background with natural resource conservation with a particular focus on water conservation. With Commissioner Dozier's impending retirement, I would be the only commissioner with farming experience or any farming knowledge. Since farming and the business associated with farming makes up the largest tax base in this community, I believe that they deserve representation on this board, and that is one of the main reasons that I have chosen to run for this office. It has been said by my opponent and his supporters that I would be stretched too thin to work effectively as a commissioner with my other professions. Nothing could be further from the truth. As a farmer and CPA, I have never had an 8-to-5 job that I could go home and forget about work. I work the hours necessary to get the job done right. Let me be clear, I will be a county commissioner first, and my priority would always be to the matters of the county. I am sure that I'll be spending some of my weekends during tax season doing tax returns, but I will never allow my work as a CPA or farmer to interfere with my primary objective as commissioner to make Walla Walla a better place for everyone. I look forward to the opportunity to represent the residents of Walla Walla as your county commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you both for those opening statements. We've gotten a lot of audience participation, so I don't anticipate asking any of my own questions. So we appreciate that from the crowd. If I may have to decipher a little bit of it because everybody has their own version of handwriting, as do I. So if I struggle a little bit with what I'm saying, I may have to read it, or somebody may just have to come up and tell me what they wrote. But anyhow, thank you for your participation. We do appreciate that. Mr. Kimball, we'll start with you. Water is one of Walla Walla County's most valuable resources. Please explain your knowledge and background in this precious resource and your plan to protect farmers' water rights.
Well, water is one of my main issues. I was born and raised on a farm. Water is #1 in all of our community. I have been on the Walla Walla County Conservation District Board for the last 10 years, and I can tell you that the changes in this community in the last 10 years have been extraordinary. We have saved water. We have done irrigation efficiency projects, saved water, put it back into the rivers for fish, for streams, for hydroelectric power. It is one of my main objectives when I'm running for county commissioner, to protect our most valuable resource, which is water.
Mr. Son.
Several years ago, I got very involved in water issues in the valley here. And I began to realize how critical the many waters were. And I worked on projects contracted with Department of Ecology, with the Watershed Alliance, and I've done a lot of personal research into water issues here. Some of that personal research recently on watershed science led to connections with Oregon State University, to a very talented hydrologist and geologist there, and a grad student who's going to do thesis work on Upper Mill Creek. It's true the top 3 users of water in the valley have made significant investments with the help of the tribes and the federal governments and their members to conserve and be more efficient with water. But water supply is already constraining economic activity, and we have to accelerate our efficiencies in order to continue to grow economically and to handle a potential influx of population.
Thank you. This one also from the audience. Certainly the gang issue is of growing concern in Walla Walla County. A young man died, I think it was last month, I remember reporting that, walking home from a party. Another young man was shot near a grain elevator recently. A fugitive was just captured as part of that. What would you do as commissioner to fight this gang problem when resources are so stretched thin?
Well, this is a huge problem for our community, and I think it's going to get worse unless we do something about it. I spent some time with Sheriff Turner about a week ago. We went to Burbank, met with some residents, spoke on this issue, and I have a plan to help Sheriff Turner. I think our sheriff department has had some issues recently with some people retiring, some people quitting, and so we're short-staffed. It's just the reality of it. And so he is short-staffed, so he is unable to go out and do the things that he would like to do to protect against gangs and other violence. My plan is to help Sheriff Turner is his deputies are leaving and retiring and going to city police or the state patrol. And they're doing that because they can make more money. It's a financial issue. So he is losing people because they can't make as much money. My plan is to try to give those deputies more money so they don't leave. And at that point, when they're making close to what the city police make, then perhaps they won't leave. And if they don't leave, then Sheriff Turner can have a deputy that will stay much longer. And I'm sorry. And if they don't leave, he can get his crew up to the 24 people that he is licensed for or has it in his budget, so that he can use those 24 people to help with the gangs, and he's fully funded for that.
Thank you, Mr. Son.
Gang activity and dangerous drug use is on the rise and a very serious problem. I too have discussed the issues with Sheriff Turner. I rode with the deputy the other day, and I believe we do need the best sheriff's office that we can afford. We need to surround that with a community effort and the other services that keep people at risk from falling into criminal activity. So it's a multi-layered problem. Mandatory overtime is very hard on morale. It's a definite issue in workplace satisfaction. And it's my understanding that the Deputies Association, given the choice, would actually prefer some more help to reduce overtime than a particular increase in wages. So as soon as county income supports more personnel, I support funding them.
Thank you. Another one from the audience. Homelessness has become a big issue countywide, and in the city of Walla Walla, there's a big homeless encampment that we've been reporting over by the golf course, the Madison Park development, which is on the horizon, which has had mixed reaction from folks. Do you have a solution for homelessness?
A solution? No, unfortunately. I wish I had a magic wand that I could solve that problem, but I don't. I spoke with Megan DeBolt the other day, head of Human Services, and we had a long discussion about this. There are really two types of homeless in this community. There is the people who have lost a job, been divorced, something of that nature, who are temporarily displaced. And there are services for that, and they are being helped. Last year alone, they gave 400 housing vouchers so that people could spend, have a roof over their head when they really didn't have the funds to do so. And those people are moving into permanent housing. The other problem we have is obviously the permanently homeless, which is a bigger problem. And funding for that there is help for that through Megan DeBolt, and those people know there is help available, excuse me. And they go into that encampment and they talk to those people, and the services are available. The fact is, several of them, or most of them, have chosen not to use those services. There is mental illness, there is alcohol and drug issues that compound that problem, that make it worse. There are services out there for them, and I would hope that we would continue to help those people. We need to do something to help them.
Thank you, Mr. Son.
I would do my best to attract into the community a local addiction treatment program or facility. The moving people with that need out of the community is difficult for them. It makes their recovery harder and hard on their families. We are making progress on mental health services, and I am very supportive of working with Comprehensive Mental Health on what they're doing and the new beds that are available. Affordable housing is an issue, and it's going to take a longer community conversation about affordable housing, I think, to come up with the best solution. Some things that have been offered for funding include more sales tax or more property tax, but I haven't seen a detailed enough description yet of what the actual program might be to use funds to that end. However, that said, I think it's fairly clear we need more units of housing. The question is, what will they look like? Where will they be? And that takes outreach and discussion from all the stakeholders, and I would facilitate that.
Thank you. As the city of Walla Walla continues to grow and more burden is put on county infrastructure, what are your respective plans to manage growth? Mr. Son, we'll start with you.
The Growth Management Act has tools that fit fairly well for us, not perfectly. And our every 10-year revision of the comprehensive plan requires coordination between the incorporated areas and the county. And there's very clear criteria to establish the urban growth boundaries. So that process just needs to have very strong public participation so that neighborhoods and people living in neighborhoods understand where they stand with regard to growth, understand if they're likely to be annexed, and get the big picture regarding growth and transportation, because those are all linked. Land use and zoning needs to be as flexible as possible. I prefer performance-based regulation to prescriptive regulation, and fast-track permitting for clean energy projects is something that would bring some jobs and get us back on the right track for growth.
Thank you. Mr. Kimball.
The urban growth area is the way to expand Walla Walla County. You know, out in the rural areas of this county, we've seen clustering, we've seen other things of that nature that I'm not a fan of. It puts pressure on our public roads. It puts pressure on the sheriff's department. It puts pressure on farmers that are moving equipment. It's a dangerous situation. And so the urban growth area is where our city should be expanding. When people come to me and ask for a zoning change so that they can do clustering, you know, granted it's legal, but if they come to me and they want to make a change so that they can make more clusters, more houses, then that's something I can do with a zoning issue. But for the most part, the Growth Management Act controls how we expand, and the urban growth area is how they use it.
Thank you. Another audience question. Should Walla Walla County share their tax revenue with the city of Pasco, since so many of the workers at the Tyson plant and the pulp mill send their children to Pasco schools, but the industrial tax only goes to Walla Walla? Mr. Son.
No.
Your final answer?
I agree wholeheartedly. No.
Okay, short and sweet. Well, that was an easy one. Another audience question. What is the most important long-term problem or issue that you believe is facing Walla Walla County, and what will you do to address or fix it? Mr. Son.
I think it's balancing how growth and change in the community gives us dynamic problems. They're always changing, and the solutions, we're chasing them. But you have to balance how many services the county can actually provide with how much revenue that growth generates to deal with them. And it's not easy. I realize it's not easy. I have strong fiscal management skills. I know how to write and manage a budget. I'm recommending that we continue the freeze on commissioner salaries. If there's some money in the budget to spend on people, we need to replace the health department furlough hours so we get full service to the public. It's really that balance between the growth of problems and the growth of revenue. It's a very difficult challenge. And I look forward to working with the other commissioners, with community groups, with the other electeds and department heads to work on that long term.
Thank you.
That is a tough question. There are a lot of issues that this county has as we grow. I'm going to take this from a county commissioner perspective when it comes to funding. The expenses of the county continue to grow, and it's just that simple. COLA adjustments, cost of living adjustments, and the insurance rates are going out of this world. How do you keep the current services that you provide as a county when these expenses are going up and our revenues really are not increasing? The county commissioners have very little control over the revenue side of the equation. All we can control really is the expense side. And what do? Do you cut people? And that's not something I would be in favor of. But the reality is the expenses are going up and the revenue is staying the same. I think as a commissioner that is our biggest issue.
Thank you. Another audience question. Federal government and some other states, including here in the state of Washington, plan to raise the minimum wage eventually to $15 an hour. By 2020, it'll be $13.50. If you are in support of increasing the state's minimum wage, would you agree with the components of this initiative, or do you have an alternative plan to accomplish this? If you do not support increasing the state's minimum wage, how come? Mr. Son.
I have supported Initiative 1433. I realize it creates some burdens in certain economic situations, franchisees and nonprofits. However, I think overall it would be good for economic activity. Dollars in people's pockets creates demand, and that will circulate in the community. And as long as we have complementary economic development programs, I think we can bear a minimum wage of $13.50, which if you take inflation away, is not that much greater than minimum wage 20 years ago.
Since I'm a proponent of the rural parts of this county and farmers in this county, most farmers aren't going to be able to withstand a pay increase. And that includes Broachy Orchards. I mean, how many employees they have and what kind of burden that would be on them would either put them out of business or seriously affect their bottom line so that they couldn't hire as many people. I want money in people's pockets too. I think the minimum wage is for people who are coming into the workforce and getting trained, and once they get trained, their employers should be raising their salaries. And that's how I feel about it. Farmers, I don't know a single farmer that pays minimum wage to anyone that's been there longer than a year. I don't know a single one. So I think it happens naturally when people stay with the job that they have, but I am not a proponent of raising the minimum wage.
Transparency is a big issue as I researched the county commissioners in terms of what the public feels. Certainly county government, sometimes mysterious to the public. They don't know what the folks in the county commission do. It can be a real challenge for you guys that are trying to get the message out. How would each of you bring a more open form of government to the county, Mr. Son?
I've done a lot of thinking about this and talking with people about what works elsewhere. Some specific things I would do include publishing every man's guides to planning or the budget, county government for dummies, if you will. We need to diversify the committees and advisory committees to the county by gender, culture, and age. We need a different group of people providing advice to the county. I agree that sometimes the agendas will be appropriate for moving the meeting times and locations. It's my feeling that generations of the existing approach to communicating with the public has resulted in a lack of interest in participating. So if moving meetings around different times, locations, and days has not worked, it's because it wasn't tried long enough, the right attractions weren't made, and it's a long-term relationship between the public and county government. We need to rebuild it. We do need to restart quarterly reports. I can't believe that they started and then died 3.5 years ago. The website has some major issues. At the very least, what we need to do is put an additional column on the Board of Commissioners page that's searchable. The whole thing actually needs to be migrated to a modern platform.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball.
I spoke with Kevin Gutierrez, the IT director, about this issue of our website. And to upgrade our website would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is a wonderful thing for people when they want to search, but that information is available. If you call Connie or call the county commissioners, that information is available. Regarding moving the commission meetings to evenings, I'm all for that. I've heard it's been done in the past and it hasn't worked, but I'm more than willing to try it again. I don't think it's an issue for all the elected officials to ask for one night every 3 or 4 months to show up. I don't think that's a big deal. But transparency in county government is very important, and I think we should do our best to improve our transparency.
Thank you both for your answers. Time to get to closing statements. Mr. Son, you had the first word, so Mr. Kimball, you'll get the final say on this one. Mr. Son, you're up.
Thanks again to everyone. This has been very enjoyable, a great opportunity to get to know each other. Todd, in your 30 years here as an adult, you've done some good things. We have some similar core values. In my 45 years here, I've developed a broader skill set. I ran the Blue Mountain Humane Society like a business. 5 times the jobs, net worth from $50,000 to over $1 million, 6 times the budget. I saw value in Cascadian Farm, if some of you have heard of that. When no one would lend them money, I did, and now they're a brand of General Mills. I wrote a small farm business skills package that was broadly accepted. I've been on policy committees at the state, local, and national level. WSU Ag and Home Ec Advisory Committee. Together, I really want to make Walla Walla work for everyone. Juntos, vamos a hacer Walla Walla funcionar para todos. Le pido su voto.
Thank you. Mr. Kimball.
I have children in this community. I have 2 boys. They are the 7th generation of my family living in this county. I have a real great place. I have a real passion to keep Walla Walla a great place to live and a great place to raise your family. That includes public safety, that includes health and human services, that includes, a multitude of things. Water, saving water. I've lived in this community basically my whole life, whether I was here or in Boise. I was there for 5 years. I went to college in Spokane, got a great education, went to graduate school at Gonzaga. I learned the value of a dollar, and this county is having an issue with dollars. Expenses are going up, revenues are staying the same. We need someone in county government that understands that budget and knows how to keep it balanced. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd Kimball, Randal Son. Thank you both, and thank the audience for your participation. We appreciate it.